Hey guys, I'm Jolly from UnitedStreamers.net, and today we're going to show you exactly how to set up a stream to have the highest quality that your hardware itself and your internet upload can actually provide you. This isn't going to be a cookie cutter situation where we tell you to use this kilobytes per second and this resolution. It's going to be more of a guide on the proper way that any business would actually set up their stream. I've worked both on the business end of things, setting their stuff up for both the front end, where that would be kind of like you streaming to Twitch, and then the back end of things, where it's setting up the server side of things. So I've got a bit of knowledge about this kind of stuff. All right, so first thing that we want to do whenever we go, either myself going into someone's system to fix their stream, is I always go into the test my net. So from here, I do the upload test. Now you can see I've got a 3.1 megabyte per second upload, and it's the best I can get where I'm at. So from this, I know already that within OBS, my maximum throughput is going to be 3,100 kilobytes per second. Now, I don't want to use all of that because what happens is if you use all of that, your game, if you're playing a multiplayer game, cannot transmit its information to the server. It does end up getting the information out, but that makes your ping really high. Um, Additionally, if you're testing your ping on one of these speed sites, that's not going to help you out. You're testing it to the closest possible location to you, not the game server. So that information doesn't help all that much. Um, so from here, I need to take in some consideration. How many people are on my internet? What kind of browsing or what kind of internet usage do they use? I know in my household, I personally have two tablets, two different things, or two different devices for two different facets of my personal life and the business side of United Streamers. Additionally, there's another tablet downstairs and a laptop. The tablet gets used, not so much the laptop, and the people who use them don't really use internet kind of like, watching streams or uploading files and that kind of stuff. So I know I've got some headroom here that I can play with and not really have too much issue with. So for my game, I like to give it a nice amount of headroom. As you can see here, I'm doing 2,400 kilobytes per second. That leaves me with 700 kilobytes overhead. Additionally, I've got 96 kilobytes for the bit rate of the audio, which means I'm at 2,496, so 604 kilobytes per second overhead. That's fine for what we're doing. Additionally, what a lot of people don't look at, let me go back to the bit rate. Unless you're someone who is doing singing or some type of DJing, like say Monster Cat, you do not need to go above 96. You could even go down to 80 and still be fine. Maybe even 64. 128 is where this defaults to, and that's audio quality level for like music and that kind of stuff. You don't need that. At that point, you're pretty much just wasting bandwidth unless you're in the musician type area. So that's going to save you a little bit extra headroom and your viewers from having to download more, you know, bandwidth from you while you're streaming. Uh, the one thing that people don't really look into is the format. And for anyone doing either video games or whatever else, you want to have this set properly. So what you do is you go down to your speaker icon, right click on it, go to playback devices. Right now I've got my default set as the AverMedia Live Gamer Extreme 2, which is what I'm recording this on. So if my mouth isn't synced up with the audio, that's why. Because we're not using OBS to record this. So I use this headset. Now in here, defaulted when I first installed it as 44.1, or as you see it here, 44,100. So I put it on DVD quality. You don't ever need to go higher than that if you have anything targeted at consoles for a gaming headset. Because anything you find at, let's say, GameStop or whatever that's targeted at Xbox or PlayStation, they aren't good quality headphones in the sense of the grand scheme of all headphones for audio quality. They're kind of at the bottom of the rung, um, and they're just targeted at the consoles. Now, if you get something like an MX or M50X, Behringer, or however you say it, something that is actually quality, you could go above the DVD quality here if there's an option for it. But gaming headsets, don't even bother because you're not going to hear any difference on them. So after I go ahead and set that to 48, I would disable the device. That's... Whoops, did I disable this? No, I did not. Okay, disable, and then I would enable. Now, if you see this go away, and you can't see it, it's because show disabled devices is not checked. All you gotta do for that, I'll show you over here in recording because I've actually got this disabled. So we do the same thing here. We'd make sure that this is the same thing as the headset earphones, which would be 48. If you cannot select 48 and only need the 44, then just select that for both. Once that's set, I would disable this one, and I'm going to go ahead and show you here. If for some reason that just goes away like this, you can click anywhere in here and show disable devices in case that happens to you and you just see it. The reason why we disable and then re-enable them is because a lot of times applications will take hold of that device, and when you change that, it won't actually change it until the next reboot, or you disable and re-enable the device. So that's why we do that. So that's good. That's set. We have it at 48 because those are both 48. And then broadcast settings. So not much to show in here, but if you do edit your videos after you've saved them and streamed them or whatever, or you're a YouTube content creator, this is defaulted to FLV, which is Flash. You want to put this to MP4, or if you're on Linux, a lot of the programs actually save as M4V. It's pretty much the same container. You could rename an MP4 to M4V and it'll still play just like it was originally. Anyway, so that's that for that. That's all I'm going to go into for that situation there. Alright, here's where we get into the technical details. I'm going to try and keep this as condensed as possible without giving you too much information. I've been doing this video multiple times just because I've gone too far down the rabbit hole and I feel like you guys' brain might explode from everything I've been saying in the past recordings. So here's the skinny. Don't ever do 1080. Don't ever do 60 frames per second. Neither one of those. The reason being is because of how video editing works. And I'm going to show you the math here. Here's how to get the proper quality out of your stream. Your upload dictates your frames per second and resolution. So what you do to find out your kilobytes for whatever resolution you're trying to do is resolution width times height times frames per second times the quality multiplier. You may be asking yourself, what is a quality multiplier? So in any SDK or backend of a streaming server, they all pretty much have the same information. This technically isn't something you would see like slow games, but this is, I just simplified everything here for you. So for slow games, you would multiply by 0.08. This would include games like Hearthstone, where pretty much nothing on the screen is changing. League of Legends, where things that do change are so slow that the changes between the I, B, and P frames and all that stuff, there's literally almost nothing happening. Now, if you're going into a fast-paced game, Smite falls into this because while it is a MOBA, it is a fast-paced MOBA. It's third person. I'll show you a little bit of that here while we're doing something else. Fast-paced games, you want to multiply by 0.1. Now, YouTube themselves say to do a 0.13, which is going to be a little bit different than the math that I have here. I'm multiplying on these figures here by a 0.1. So let's say I'm playing Call of Duty, Battlefield, Smite, or anything else that's not slow like League of Legends, which is what a lot of people do stream. If I were to try and do 1080 30 frames per second, I need bare minimum 6,220 kilobytes per second. If you're going to do this on YouTube, they actually say that you need 8,000 kilobytes per second, bare minimum, for what they consider standard definition, not high definition. I have this listed as true HDV, but it's a little misleading. 0.13 for YouTube they consider standard, not HD video. Now, whenever you go to a 60 frames per second, you're essentially doubling down on the kilobytes per second. The reason being is that a lot of people don't really realize this, but your frames per second and your kilobytes per second go hand in hand. They're like a little married couple, and if you add double down on the frames, you also have to double down on the kilobytes per second. Otherwise, if you do not, what happens is you effectively take your quality and chop it in half. It doesn't have enough kilobytes to support the video. Um, I hope you understand that. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, these are really high numbers compared to what I see everyone else doing. And the reason why is because everyone else is doing the wrong settings. And that's what I'm trying to clear up here. So a 720 with a fast-paced game, you need 2,764 bare minimum to keep the quality metrics up. 60 frames, 5,530. Now, let's say if you were doing League of Legends, 720, 30 frames per second, slow game video. Alright, so we'll bust out the calculator here. It's going to be 1280 times 720 times 30 times 0.08. Now that's the bits. We divide it by 1,000, we'll get the kilobytes. 2,211. Well, 2,212 if you rounded this up. So that's the very bare minimum that would be recommended for League of Legends. 112. And if you do 60 frames per second, which there's absolutely no reason in the world to do 60 frames per second on a game like that, since things aren't happening fast enough on that game for 60 frames per second to even matter. But you would essentially just take that and double it. So we would take 2,212 times 2. So you're looking at 4,424. With a game that slow, though, I'm not really sure you would notice any difference between the two. That's one example where you can really have horrible settings and still get away with a decent quality stream. Just if you ever look at that game versus, you know, something like Call of Duty or Battlefield, I mean, the screen changes between a first-person shooter versus League of Legends. It's kind of like watching paint dry on League of Legends. So that's why you can get away with really horrible settings, because the changes from IPB frames and all that stuff, they're not that drastic. So now, since we know first off that we should not be doing 1080, and we should not be doing 60 frames per second, what I always recommend to people if they do want to have a more fluid stream is 45 frames per second. Now, let's say I want to do 45 frames per second. I'm going to be underneath of what I actually need, which 1280, because we're using the resolution downscale here from 1080 to 720. That's the wrong thing. 1,280 times 720 times 45 times 0.1, because I don't play any really slow games. I need 4,147 kilobytes per second in order to have a decent looking stream with no pixelation and that kind of stuff. Visual fidelity is high. And additionally, I would have a fluid looking stream. Now you can get a little creative in order to pull back that quality. So since I don't stream in this, I don't really have to worry about it. If you do any sort of resolution downscale, always use Lanco's filter. Additionally, we're going to get talking into more of the CPU usage side of things, which is coming up here. Frames per second, the higher those are, the more CPU usage you will use. So if you've got a weak CPU and you can't really do much with the CPU preset, and you can't really do much whenever you're set at a high frames per second in OBS, drop it back down to 30, get things back to sort of normal, and then see where you can go from there. Now the CPU preset, what this does, a lot of people don't even change it. So either always on very fast, or they try and put it up higher to ultra fast or super fast. Going going to make your stream quality look worse, but it will use less CPU. So if you have a weak CPU, sometimes you've got another option. And if you go with a faster one and you want to keep the quality up, you kind of have to murder people with the quality factor with the kilobytes per second. So you're offloading the CPU usage and then jamming a bunch of kilobytes down their throat in order to make up the difference. So it's always best to have, like if you're going to be building a system, build it with super strong i7 or whenever the Zen Intel or Zen AMD processors come out. Get like there's 6 or 8 cores, something like that, and then you'll be good to go. I don't recommend any current AMD processor because even the biggest and baddest they currently have out right now is a 5-year-old processor that has just been overclocked and then rebadged. There's they're not decent right now. All right, so I know with my i7-3770K, prior to overclocking, I'm able to do a medium preset. I've already done all the testing. For you yourself, what you're going to want to do, if you have no idea about CPUs, start off with ultrafast. And then what you'll do, hold down Control, Shift, hit Escape. Windows Task Manager will pop up. Now in Windows 8 and 10 they did change things up a bit. You may have to click on something to kind of show more information, sort of like I have here. You're looking at the overall CPU usage. If you're on console, this isn't going to affect you too badly, but when you're a PC gamer and streamer with the same system like I am, this definitely matters a lot because using too much CPU is going to hinder your gaming performance. And additionally, if it goes above a certain amount of CPU usage, your stream will still have audio, but the video itself will start becoming it'll look basically like it's paused. And what it is, it's not drop frames. Drop frames are when you're having network issues, like your upload speed. If you use way too much upload, you're gonna have tons of drop frames because your network can't support it. Say if I try to use 6,000 kilobytes per second, I'm gonna drop half of everything that I try and put out there because I've only got 3.1 up. So if you see drop frames, it's because either A, your internet can't support it, B, your router's kind of garbage. That's a thing that is very prevalent with most routers that are out there. Or you're being throttled by your internet provider. The whole throttling thing kind of isn't too much of an issue anymore, but you could end up having with, say, cable internet. Cable internet works in a system where everyone around you is sharing the same pipe. And they oversell their internet, so what happens is if everyone's using it at a peak time, and they're all taxing that upload and download, there's not enough bandwidth for everyone. So then it plateaus and you don't actually have the upload and download that you're supposed to have. Hopefully that clears up some issues that you guys might be having as well. If you want to know what router to buy, I'll put it down in the comments below this on both the YouTube and on the webpage where I'll be putting this on United Streamers. It's the router that I personally use because it's the best one. It's got the best operating system. It's got the best, well, I wouldn't say the best hardware, but the best utilization of hardware. And a ton of RAM in it. And it's something like 70 bucks. It's not bad, especially for being like the best router on the internet. So anyways, I'm going to be looking at my CPU usage. Now I can't play the game and do this whole thing on one single screen. I got to move this over to that other screen. So what I'm going to do, so you can see the levels of spikes here, and we can talk about it a little bit later, is just stretch that out, drag it over here, and we can already see that I'm using about 35% CPU usage. I'm on a medium preset. I'm going to go ahead and OK on that. I'm going to stop this preview, and then I'll start again just to make sure any changes I've done are good to go. I think I put myself on 48 frames per second. That's fine. I generally wouldn't do that just because it's going to hinder my performance or my quality of my video stream. Alright, so I'll go ahead and jump into this game here. Now, there are better games I could show you this with, but this is the one that I decided to go with. can't buy any more items. Alright, so in order to see what your CPU is going to do, you want to move around a lot. You want to have visual effects happening. So, like doing this right here, I can see right now that I'm at 64%. And what you're looking for is that you're not going above 75%. You want your average to be 75. If it's below 75, that's fine. You don't really have to worry about that. What is this trying to get me to do here? Now, some games will be a little bit different whenever it comes to CPU usage. So my overall, I need to make sure that the highest CPU usage game plus streaming are going to equal out to an average of 75 or below. If you ping into the 80 range here and there, or even 90 range every once in a blue moon, that's not going to really, do too much. That happens from time to time because it's, doing different things or whatever. As long as it's not steady stream of 90, it'll be cool. And again, I'm still at 69, 58, 63. I'm not hitting really anything high here, even with trying to move around a good deal. Now, this will be a little bit different if I were in a multiplayer match, just because there will be more happening all across the screen. So this isn't a great test, but I don't want to ruin people's gaming experience with me trying to iron out every last little detail in this video representation. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. And we'll go back to the OBS, yeah. Alright, so here are the figures. I'm still currently at 40%. It's basically, the combination of having the game open and having OBS open. Now, you can't do these calculations and watch this stuff when nothing is happening on screen. Because what happens is the changes aren't happening in the back end of OBS, and nothing's happening in game. So the CPU usage is going to be lower. You need to be moving around. You need to be creating some type of visual stimuli for both the game and OBS to see where they're peaking up at. Peaks aren't the worst. Like you can see here, this is probably somewhere in the 80 range, maybe 90. I don't really know how to read these little things here. I just look at the percentage. But you want your average, like I said, within the 75% range at maximum if you're trying to get the best CPU preset. So start off with the lowest and work your way up. Now this is also going to depend. Now, Windows itself is different per operating system. I know for myself personally that every single operating system I've tried testing OBS on, with streaming and gaming, Windows 10 gave me about a 75% reduction in this stuff. I cannot do a medium preset in Windows 10 while gaming. I can hardly do an ultra fast with or without overclock. I go into Windows 7, bang, I'm back on medium, and I can do anything else that I want. And I'm using a hell of a lot less CPU. So your mileage may vary based on your operating system, what chipset you have, are those chipsets and drivers updated, and whatever else you're doing on the computer, as well as what game are you playing. This game is going to run completely different than another game. So if I didn't have this good of a CPU and know its limitations, and I played a different game like let's say Battlefield, that CPU preset might have to be changed because that game is completely different than this game as far as CPU utilization. I hope that cleared up things for you and your brain hasn't started to ooze out your ear from all the information there. But that is the proper method in order to figure out what you're going to be using for kilobytes per second. Make sure you give stuff headroom. It's a mathematical equation that every professional uses as far as live streaming, and a lot of times when it comes to video encoding, depending on the situation though, because there are different things like you don't have two pass in this and that kind of stuff, where the computer can keep rendering over and over again over the same video because you have to get it out of the system onto the internet. Um, Additionally, watch the frames per second because that can degrade the video fidelity that you have of the video. Uh, so you need to plan out and see if using more fluid video over top of the actual quality of the video is something that you want. And then test your preset. Ultra fast and work your way down on whatever game you're going to be streaming and see where you land at. Uh, and that's pretty much it. Make sure all your drivers and everything are updated, and you'll be good to go. Should you have any questions that I have missed, anything that I should have explained here, go ahead and drop a comment below on the YouTube page or on United Streamers website where I'm going to be posting this. Let me know, and maybe I can do another sort of guide or something for you guys. If you're feeling in a generous mood and want to donate to United Streamers, you can do so on our website. Just go to unitedstreamers.net and there is a donation thing up in the top address bar. I'll go ahead and show you that real quick. So this is United Streamers. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on here because I'm using a different resolution than what this actually should have been. Alright, so you're probably not going to see this premium. That's something that I'm working on. The donations is right here. The auto tweet thing probably could be taken out, but you could donate anywhere on here. Or if you want to be a ninja about it, you can always do paypal.me/jollyrific. As you can see my name right there. And if you want to promote your own stream and that kind of stuff, and you're active on the forums, you can post that there, and it will go to not only our Twitter account, which is located here. You can actually see a couple that have been posted recently. So he created this, and you click directly on it and go straight to the forum post here and that kind of stuff, which the site automatically posts it out there for you. Or if you go to the Facebook here, it automatically posts it here as well in the group. The Twitter has over 8,000 members. The Facebook group has currently, at the time of recording this, 5,785. That fluctuates, so it may be higher, maybe lower, whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, dislike if you don't like it. I don't, do what you do. But thanks for watching, taking the time, and if you made it this far, I hope you learned a bit of information and you're on your way to getting back to streaming with high quality video. You guys have a great day.